Anything that causes you anxiety, fear, hatred, jealousy, frustration, quarrel, regret, there's only an element of attachment in it. Remove that. Behind it you shall find your love. Now, take the relationship which is considered as such a sacred relationship that society unites a man and a woman together. Husband and wife relationship. With that the family starts. That's why we are taking that relationship first. Now most people will say, Swamiji, what do you want to do? How do you know about marriage? Yeah. Listen, we are also born out of wedlock only. Yeah. And whatever I speak from marriage, even though I may make these jokes so that you might find some humor in your marriage, yeah, because all the SMS that you all send around, yeah, about marriage, like one marriage said, one person said, I don't talk about my marriage to anybody because I like to keep my trouble to myself. So jokes they send out, no SMS. Yeah. We also know about marriage because one of the most beautiful and perfect marriage that I have seen is of my own parents. And all that I speak about marriage is from their marriage. The most wonderful marriage they've had. And one element that I have learned that's so beautiful in marriage, first of all, which today's youngsters don't recognize. Yeah. People say, and today though it's like that, people don't want to marry because marriages don't work and divorces take place. So most people want to live in de facto relationship. Yeah. It's not they don't want to marry at all. They want a relationship, but they don't want the signing of the paper so that there is no commitment. In love, where there is no commitment, it cannot be love. Therefore, in the Hindu marriage, or actually in all the religious marriages, divorce, not all religious, some to allow, right? Divorce is not spoken of. Though we understand that at some extreme cases, it would be necessary. Because if two people decide that they have to live with each other till the end of their life, rather than thinking that there's an option out, then you've got two choices: to live with each other miserably or to live with each other happily. It's matter what you choose. Very often I have saved marriages by only telling them, promise me one thing, you will not talk about separation and divorce. And when they give this commitment, then you will make it work. Really speaking, if two people love each other, why is this knot of marriage necessary also? Because we will not know the difference between attachment, lust and love when people are young. Love is there where there is commitment. Where there is no commitment, there is no dedication. Of course, when two people get together, there may be infatuation. When there is arranged marriage, two people just like each other, they are married. Love may not necessarily be first sight or you quickly fell in love. Love is something that you all are experiencing after even so many years of ups and downs in marriage. But today, you know that many of you would do anything for that other person who maybe you think all your life made you miserable. That is love. It's not that butterfly feeling, that dub feeling. I love you honey, I love you darling. See your grandparents, they must have never said these words. They don't hug each other, they don't kiss each other, they don't speak on their wedding anniversary. A little one look at him, a little smile at her, that's enough. And yet, she knows everything he needs. He understands every emotions of her. That is love. That commitment, when it is there, then that understanding is there. What is the key factor? The key factor in marriage, and this is seen very beautifully in Tulsi Ramayana, in Shiv Vivah. I do not know if you really want to discuss in great detail marriage. I have spoken on this topic from Shiv Vibha, because they said, Swamiji, what he'll speak about marriage. I said, well, Shivji's marriage, the Swami can speak, no? Yeah. You can see who, and especially people keep thinking, all these things about woman is told in the scripture. Women should look husband as God. Women should have these duties. Women should sacrifice. Read Tulsi Ramayana and Shiv Vibha. We understand what is the responsibility of the husband. There's a spiritual aspect to marriage. In Hinduism, every relationship was made sacred so that you reach the highest state of union with God. And what was that union of man and woman that would lead you to God union? That is the spiritual aspect of marriage. And they point out very clearly, woman naturally, by nature, is sacrificing, giving and loving. Therefore, the path of devotion is easy for a woman. Man is basically more rational. He's very hesitant in showing his emotions. And that also you must understand in marriage very well. Yeah? For a woman, small things matter. You bought her a rose on her birthday. Red rose, not white rose. Yeah. And take the hint, do it. Oh, she'll know because you said it. Even then she will be touched. It's the small things that touch a woman. And therefore also they get sentimental with small things only, which men don't understand. Achha, she said like that, why are you bothering? But it matters to her. Because as a mother she has to notice the smallest emotions of the child. So what is her strength can also become her weakness. And therefore men should understand that for women, these small things matter. At that time, don't get logical. She's only looking for some consolation, for some sympathy. And men then get logical, try to explain to her that why she should not feel so miserable. Yeah. And men, even if they miss their wives, one hint to men. When you travel, keep sending SMS, which you love, I miss you. That matters more to her than the gift you bring for her after 20 days not calling her up. Because understand, a man's responsibility is far greater than the woman's responsibility. Even though it seems that all the things woman has to sacrifice, women have to sacrifice, women have to sacrifice. It comes naturally to them, that's great. But the day you take that woman's hand in your hand, that's called as Pani Grahanam. You are taking the full responsibility of hers at all respects, at all times. Manusmriti says that even if a woman goes astray, it is your responsibility once you've held her hand to bring her back and still cherish her. On the contrary, we understand the other way around. Man can do whatever. And Manusmriti says, if a man does something wrong, a woman can say no. That is the dignity and responsibility. Dignity for a woman and the responsibility for a man is given. Unlike what has become today, that the man dominates and the woman, has to sacrifice everything. But that doesn't mean like today the woman wants to boss over everything. A happy marriage is a union. Yeah? It's not a matter of who's the boss. They don't talk in I and you, they talk in we. That togetherness is marriage. Khalil Gibran has given a beautiful aspect of marriage. He says, let there be togetherness, but let there be no possession. For only life can possess your heart. Be like the pillars of the temple, holding the temple together, but not clinging. Imagine these two pillars suddenly started clinging. I can't live without you. What would happen? And something very beautiful. Know that the two tall trees, the cypress tree and the oak tree do not grow in each other's shadow. Be together. Certain decisions, a woman is better. Certain decision, a man is better. Agree to disagree at certain times. And one thing, lessons that elders have taught. In marriage, there may be differences of opinion. They're not two identical people. You may even quarrel. So what? Two perfect marriages I've seen. One, my parents, I've hardly ever seen them quarrel. And another marriage which I call perfect, they fight every day. But it's a perfect marriage. Why? Because in marriage, expect the least from each other. Give the maximum to each other. Expect the least, give the maximum. If a woman thinks my husband is God and gives everything to him, then man should think I am God, and God is not a receiver, he is only a giver. Unlike you think, oh, I am God, worship me, chalo. If she worships you as God, which means everything you give to her, God is a giver, even a forgiver. Isn't it? Expect the least from each other, give the maximum to each other. At the same time, there will be some expectations. You're not perfect human beings. If you have expectations, tell each other what you expect. Don't expect that the other understands what you expect. Yes, you should, but don't. Yeah. That's why, one woman was very upset with her husband and said, I had so many expectations of you, but you have disappointed most of them. The man said, I have only one expectation of you. I have no expectation of me. Expect if you expect, but tell each other what you expect. And especially men, be careful. Men are not vocal of their feelings. And very times, especially today, women do not understand what a man is going through. Men will not express because they feel expressing emotion is a weakness. That's how they've been taught in the so-called chauvinistic, manly. And in the business world, it is necessary. You can't show your emotions. That's why when they come home, it's hard for them to show emotions. If a woman requires special understanding to know, but men don't keep inside if something has hurt you. Very often, maybe a number of credit cards these days, property, jewelry, these are mostly considered as wealth. So whenever we speak about wealth, we always understand money first. And you can see that how important is money, because it really spins the world around, isn't it? Yeah. Every song also, money, money, money. Sit on the table with any gentleman, group of men, all they are talking about is Politics for money. Economy for money. Stock market for money. Everybody is just talking about money, money, money. Yet, very few people admit that money also is an important part of our life. However, we understand that it is the most important part of our life, deep down. But admitting is difficult. But one of the greatest commodity that we have, one of the greatest wealth that we have is time. And yet very often time is wasted. Time is also a very, very important wealth that has been given to us. Again, health is also wealth. If there is no health, what do you do with your wealth? Is it not? As we go further into the discussion, we will find out that there are many things that are very precious in our life. And they are wealth. But all that we have very often is a very limited idea of wealth. And that we think only as money. He who makes or she who makes good use of time will always be wealthy. That's why Shankaracharya in Bhaj Govindam, a very beautiful text, as I've been saying, one must listen to or hear or study. Maybe next time we may take that as a text. He points out two things in the first few verses. In the first verse he points out the importance of time. That time is constantly passing us by. Time stays back for no one, not even for emperors, kings, neither for the rich nor the poor. Time is constantly passing by. And one day, time takes over and death comes. And when this death comes, what can we say of the wealth that we have produced, we can take with us? That alone can be true wealth or useful wealth, which will not only be useful for us here in this life, but also when it is time to leave from here, it will be useful for us. Is it not? Then you can call it as wealth. If that wealth we produce and then we have to leave behind and go empty-handed, then what is use of that wealth? Therefore, the first instruction is make use of your time profitably. Make use of your time productively. Because time is the greatest wealth that we have. Do not waste time. Because if time is wasted, now know something, it's in the Ramayana, beautiful incident, when Ramchandra ji is about to pick up the bow, but he's still waiting. He looks at the condition of Sita ji and he realizes something beautiful. If something is lost in space, you can always get it back. You can go back in space. But something which is lost in time can never be gained. Time lost is lost forever. It cannot be gained. Therefore, value time as the greatest wealth that we have. And one who makes use of time will always be wealthy. Again, wealth is that which will be with us not only now, but also hereafter. That is the wealth that we should aim for. Right? Now, you'll be wondering that this Swami is giving a spiritual discourse. Suddenly, what is he talking about? Wealth management? Because people have a very, very wrong notion in their mind. That spirituality is against wealth. And very often we keep hearing also from people, even the priests, etc., wealth is bad, wealth is terrible, wealth is a devil. Even in some scriptures, find mammon, thou shalt be condemned. Everybody seems to condemn wealth. And those who condemn wealth later will ask you for donation. Yeah. Those priests only will ask for, is it not? Yeah. Understand our scriptures, and at least not the Hindu philosophy, does not condemn wealth. Shankaracharya in the very second verse points out, it is not wealth that needs to be condemned. It is our greed for wealth which is to be condemned. Wealth itself is useful to us. It is not to be condemned. It is how we produce wealth, how we use wealth that makes it good or bad. It becomes beneficial or harmful. But wealth in itself is not bad. In fact, bulk of our scriptures is talking about productivity, producing wealth. All your prayers and artis also what? Give me wealth, give me wealth, give me wealth only, isn't it? Yeah. So you go to the temple for what? For God's sake. Then why the hypocrisy about wealth? Our rishis say, do not be greedy about wealth and do not be hypocritical about wealth. Wealth has got its own usefulness in society. If you read Taittiriya Upanishad, Ishavasya Upanishad, even Taittiriya Upanishad, in Taittiriya Upanishad it is beautifully said, when the students left their Gurukula, yesterday that's why we showed you what is education and about the very concept of the schools that Gurudev conceived of. In the olden times also, most schools were residential school where parents, rather than pampering and spoiling their children at home, send them to a Gurukula. And see, the word skula has come from kula only. Yeah. The word skula has come from kula only. And there, in the convocation address, the Guru was sending out students who are going back to the world, clearly gives them the instructions how they should live in their life. They clearly point out, Satyam Vada Dharmam Chara, live a life of honesty, live a life of righteousness. And there continues to say, Kushala na pramaditavyam, bhutyai na pramaditavyam. Do not neglect your welfare. Do not neglect your material progress. This is given in the highest books of spirituality. In Ishavasya Upanishad, there is a beautiful discussion which points out the role of spirituality and materialism in our life. When we say materialism, it means production of wealth. It does not mean what we call as materialism as greed. Points out so beautifully that both are essential in society. Spirituality is not against materialism, because the very Upanishad which gives you the highest spiritual knowledge, given out to the highest renunciates, points out that in this world, materialism and spirituality, if they are opposed to each other, then see what happens. With materialism, you can remove the hunger, thirst, and needs of people. But materialism, devoid of spiritual values, spiritual knowledge, becomes sheer aggrandizing, hoarding, greed, and it becomes disastrous. And that we can see around in the world. Spirituality devoid of materialism can also lead a society to darkness, because if you neglect materialism, then look at what's happened to Tibet. Today they do not have a country of their own. You can't be blind to the needs of the country, whether it's the security of the country, whether it's the wealth of the country. Thus, it points out that unprepared people, if they take to spirituality without neglecting material prosperity, then they can be in darkness. And so too also, those who take to materialism without spiritual values, they will also be in darkness. What is the use of wealth? With wealth, remove the suffering, the physical suffering of the people. And with spirituality, raise your soul to the heights of ambition. Now very often people try to find out what's the difference between greed and ambition. Very often in this world, we cover our greed in the name of ambition, generally. So we hear it's good to be ambitious, it is motivating, it is driving. Of course, nobody wants to admit that I am greedy. We all know greed is bad. So nowadays we nicely cover greed under the name of ambition. We have to clearly, if we have to manage wealth in our life, we must know the difference between greed and ambition. And a simple thing is, greed will always stress you out. Ambition will always help you grow. Now there are many people who will say, I'm ambitious, I'm not greedy, I don't care whether I gain wealth or not, as long as, I can make my company grow, etc. There also, are you doing it for fame? Are you doing it just to prove yourself? Or you have the potential and you can contribute? There's a big difference between ambition and greed. Therefore, in our program, Make It Happen, in fact, just yesterday I got an email from a teacher, a vice principal of a school, who just recently got that program and wrote me such a beautiful mail. Says, when we sometimes read, we think we know it all. But a simple thing between need, desire and goal. She said, I'm stuck with the program because every time I read, I realize that I thought this was my need, this was my desire, this was my goal. But when I try to find out, I realize very often I take my greed to be my goals. Until and unless we become aware, even wealth production can become only harmful other than beneficial. Therefore, we must know the difference between greed and ambition. Ambition is when you set high goals for yourself. And those goals can be material, they can be spiritual. In which you are not overcome by selfishness, but you express your greater potential and you grow. That is called as ambition. Though in this world, very often greed only is taken as ambition. Thus, spirituality is not against our material wealth. And do you know, very few people in this world, really speaking, are wealthy. You say, all of you sitting here are wealthy, none of you are poor here. Are you or are you not? You're not? See, you're never satisfied. Greed. Which one of you is not wealthy here? All of you are wealthy. But you will never feel yourself wealthy if there is greed in your life. You have more than what you need. And if you've got more than what you need, even if you've got enough for what you need, you're already wealthy. There are many people in this world who don't even have that much. Is it not? In Prashnotri, Shankaracharya has taken up a question where he was asked, who is a poor person? Is not a person who has no wealth or less wealth. He says, Ko vasti daridraha. Who is a poor person? He writes, Vishala Trishna. One who has got greed will always be poor. Not one who does not have wealth. Thus remember this very clearly, that a person is poor. A person may not have wealth. He may be bankrupt, but he is not poor. Remember one thing. Just think over this idea. Because there are a lot of assets we have which we do not take into consideration. Thus, we do not think ourselves to be wealthy. Yet, amongst the people of the world, very few people are wealthy. And even those who are wealthy do not admit or do not consider themselves to be wealthy. Do you know what? First problem in becoming wealthy is, you know what? We criticize wealthy people. Is it not? Huh? Anybody who's seen a Mercedes, look at it, showing off his wealth. Is it not true? Everybody wants to be wealthy, but when we see anyone wealthier than yourself, what do? Criticize. Indirectly in your mind, what are you putting? Criticism for wealth. Therefore you develop guilt for wealth. Very few people have the capacity to earn wealth. And they should. But the only difference is, know the difference between greed and the production of wealth. How we produce wealth and how we use wealth makes wealth also sacred. If it is produced by wrong means, by harming others, by cheating others, by dishonest means, then that wealth is disastrous. It will never be helpful. Second is, how do we use wealth? That we will also see as we go on. That is the right art of managing wealth. That wealth which is kept for selfish reason, hoarded beyond need, that wealth will be disastrous only. But wealth itself is not bad. It is useful. So first of all, stop condemning wealth or even wealthy people. Yes, among wealthy people also you have bad people. Amongst poor people also you have evil people. Amongst poor people also you have good people. Amongst wealthy also you have good people. If there were not good wealthy people, then how do you think there are so many philanthropists in this world that contribute in charity, that give wealth and share wealth where wealth is not produced, especially in African countries? Just think about it. Therefore, wealth or wealthy people are not to be condemned. Yes, there are wealthy people who misuse wealth. Yes, that can be condemned. So first of all, we should remove this guilt about wealth and know the difference between greed of wealth and the potential to produce wealth. This must be clear. Therefore, our rishis never condemned wealth. In India, wealth has been worshipped as Mother Lakshmi. Is it not? So understand, it is the greed of wealth that causes all our blood pressure, heart attacks, diabetes. And this greed has got no limits. Therefore Shankaracharya says, O fool, he addresses, O fool, mood jahihi danagama trishna. He didn't say give up your pursuit of wealth, but your greed for wealth. Because your needs have a limit, your greed has got no limit. Therefore Mahatma Gandhi said so beautifully, there's enough in this world for each one's need. There's not enough in this world for one man's greed. Guru Nanak Sahib, in the very beginning of Guru Granth Sahib, in Japji Sahib has said, Bhukhya bukna utri je banna puriya bar. That this greed, even if you were to get the entire universe, the greed will never come to an end. In fact, there is a beautiful story of Alexander. Alexander, in his passion, wanted to conquer the world. Today we are told in our books, Alexander the Great. Why? Because he went out to conquer the world. What an ambitious young man. But how did he go to conquer the world? Kill, plunder, loot. What did he do? Is that what you call as ambition, or is it called as arrogance and greed? There is a story about Alexander, that when he went to conquer the world, conquering one by one, all the countries from Greece to the borders of India. And finally, when he came to the borders of India, the first time the borders of India crashed is when the people of India forgot that we are one nation. They thought it's a responsibility of Sindh, it's a responsibility of Porus to look after the borders. Why should we bother? But when the borders break, when the skin gets cracked, any germ can enter the body. Any invasion is possible. Finally, Alexander broke through this country's boundaries. But I tell you, till today, if you don't believe in God, go to India. You will believe in God. We have no defense system. Army can reach Kargil. We have got one naturally God-made defense system which protects our capital Delhi. It's called Delhi Belly. You go to India and you will get dysentery. Alexander, along with all his people, got dysentery. Finally they were weakened and they had to rush back. Till today we have this defense system in India which keeps the NRIs out, non-required Indians. And it is said when Alexander was returning back, Alexander was dying, and it is said that Alexander said, keep my hand outside my coffin so that the world can see that the emperor of the world, he not yet conquered the world, but half the world, the emperor of the world goes empty-handed. I used to very often give this example. That's why I did not give this example when I told you that time is the most precious commodity we have. And in time produce that which will go with us, not what we leave behind and go. I used to give this example. There used to be an elderly gentleman attending my talks, very holy man. And one day he came up to me and he said, and I was very young at that time, brahmachari that time. He came up to me and said, Brahmachari ji, I've heard your discourses, you're always so logical, but on this point you have not thought over. I was very ready to learn. I said, tell me, what is it? This is a story we keep hearing in our books and we hear from people. I know it's not a true story, but it's nice, it has got a good message. He said, just think. A person who all his life has aggrandized wealth, looted people, greedy and selfish, has destroyed homes and other people's needs, Such a person at the end of his life will give something so precious to the world and go. Such wisdom which is wealth to the world and go. One who has only grabbed for himself. He says the truth of the story is that when Alexander died, he gave no such message. He wouldn't have that wisdom. When Alexander died, there was no hole in the coffin. But when his coffin was being taken in the crowds, his dead body broke open the coffin, his hand came out and said, "Give me more, give me more, give me more." Yeah. This greed does not even go at death. It is our wise Indians, who looked at it and said, "Mutti bandh kar aaya jag mein, haath pasare jayega." That he came empty-handed and he is going empty-handed. That was the wisdom of our country people. That's what they saw. Even in bad they see good only, Yeah. This greed never comes to an end. But need always has its limits. Those who attended Hanuman Chalisa last time when I was here, in the secret of success, if you remember, I told you the story of Sursa opening her mouth. Yeah. Sursa opening her mouth. And Hanumanji becoming bigger. Sursa opening her mouth bigger. And we see this fantastic story. We enjoy it, no doubt. But it means that the mouth of greed, as much as you try to satisfy it, it will only go on increasing. The only way you can conquer greed is live by your needs. Therefore Hanumanji became small, went through the mouth of Sursa and came out. Otherwise greed can devour anybody, but not a person like Hanumanji. This is what we have to understand. Otherwise we produce wealth, but we really cannot enjoy wealth. Nor we make proper use of wealth. Need has its limit. Therefore, how should we live in life managing wealth? Shankaracharya points out, give up your greed of wealth. Does not say stop producing wealth. But how should we live in our life if we truly want to enjoy the fruits of wealth? Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Chinmayam Vyapiyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sachara Charam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let your mind be quiet for a minute. Make no movements whatsoever. Let your mind empty itself of all the vague thoughts. Be a witness to it. Learn to master your mind. And if you will it, it will happen. Learn to quieten your mind instantly. This series of talks for the last 7 days started with the topic on the science of life management. And the important part to note there was that our life has to be lived fully. We cannot live it in parts. Yeah. We cannot live it in parts. It has to be lived fully. We cannot say that my work is good and my family is bad, I'm happy. Every aspect of our life goes to make our complete life. And if we want to be successful, then life as a whole has to be successful. When we look at the lives of great people, they did not very often go to universities and learn management. Yet, how did they learn to manage their life? Because they learned the secrets of life. And most important is, they learn to manage the manager, the mind. And once the manager is managed well, everything in life is managed well. First and foremost in life, if our mind is too preoccupied with grievances and sorrows, then such a mind cannot develop any further. Therefore, we took up the topic of how do we manage problems and grief in our lives. We gave many pointers on how we can deal with these situations of life and live a happy life. Today, in the conclusion, we are giving some simple tips. And in that, what we will tell you is that if you want happiness in your life and you want to remove sorrow in your life, then see that no day passes in your life, without removing someone's sorrow. Not adding to their sorrow. That we do very well these days. Let every day pass where you have at least lifted a burden of someone, removed some of their sorrows, given some joy to someone. Let every day before you go to bed, you check out, did you do it? And if you've not, then carry it forward. Next day do 2. Yeah. I said at least 1. I'm telling you, that's the way even to get out of depression. As many people take these Prozacs, they take these medicines, they cannot get out of depression. The only way to get out of sorrow is start giving happiness to others. Then second, we discussed about stress. Is it not? We all want success, but we seem to pay a very heavy price of stress. We have given all the tips about how to conquer this worry which creates all this tension, anxiety and stress. But simple thing is, yoke yourself to the higher. Remember that whatever happens, happens for the best. And if you've done the best, then leave the rest. Yeah. Then leave the rest. If that faith you have in nature, in God, in yourself, then there is nothing to worry about. And remember, you made a promise, isn't it? What was the promise? Forgot already. Huh? Yeah. Refuse to be miserable. You remember not? You put your hand up. How many put your hand up? Others all knew what? Huh? Refuse to be miserable. Then we took up the topic of, forgot. Huh? Managing the mind. And important thing about managing the mind is, don't leave the mind idle. Remember the post? Yeah. Ghost you remember, but remember the post. Yeah. Keep the mind constantly occupied with something nobler and higher. Then about wealth, we spoke about. Many aspects about wealth we have explained to you, in the production of wealth, in the use of wealth, in the investment of wealth. But the secret of wealth management is simple. Produce more than what you consume. If you read our mission pledge, which is there in most of the books, produce more than what you consume and give more than what you take. Simple formulas summarizing everything that we have spoken. Produce more than what you consume and give more than what you take. That is the secret of wealth management. And what about love? Yesterday we were speaking about love. The secret of love is not in sitting back and receiving love, but giving love. But what if I give love and I don't get love? That is our fear, is it not? But the joy of giving love is such that there is no need for anything. Only when we do it, do we know it. But the secret of it is, you give love, you cannot but get love back in return. Because there are very few people in this world who truly love. And if you be the rare one that loves, just like you be the rare flower where there is no other flower blooming, then all the bees will be chasing that one flower only, isn't it? Thus the secret of love is, don't be passive in love, be active in love. Don't sit back and wait to be loved, but begin to love. Whenever I used to go to our Siddhbari ashram, and that picture is in that foothills of the Himalayas, you can see the snow-clad mountains. Very often, a lot of spiritual retreats take place there, and especially during Gurudev's time, we used to go there. Now also many retreats are there. You should go and visit. In fact, this year is the 25th year of Siddhbari. Gurudev Samadhi is there. And May 8th being Gurudev's birth anniversary, there's going to be a huge camp there. Why not some of you go there? It's a beautiful spiritual retreat. I used to go there as a youngster. Very often, whatever little holiday I used to get from the office, I used to run to Siddhbari. attend the camp and run back home to get back to work. While I used to be attending the talks there, the spiritual discourses, in that camp, in those retreats, some villagers used to come even from the far off places in the Himalayas. Gurudev used to speak in English because people from around the world were coming there, plus all over India. So these villagers sometimes used to come. Amongst them, there used to be an elderly villager, very sweet, lean little man. He would come there and he would be just watching Gurudev. No doubt Gurudev was such an animated speaker, even watching him was sheer meditation, After the sessions, I would go and ask him, you come from so far, do you understand anything? He said, no, but I see Maharajji, I'm fine. But he was always so curious, he used to ask me, what did Maharajji say? What did Maharajji say? And I would translate in Hindi and tell him, for me it became a revision. And a seva, and while he used to listen with such rapt attention, whatever I could revise, I would revise with him. Because know the secret, the more you give, the more you get. The more you give knowledge, the more you become stronger in your own knowledge. He used to always tell me, I used to call me little Baba. Yeah? He used to call me Baba, Baba, come. I will take you to the valley of flowers. It's so beautiful. I never had more time. So I would say, yes, next time. And like that, a few years passed away. One trip, Gurudev cut his camp a bit short because he had some other commitment. I got 3 extra days. So I told him, Babuji, now you can take me to the valley of flower. But somehow he was not the same. He was a bit upset. And he said, I'm not taking you to the valley of flowers. So I said, did I do something wrong? He said, no, you didn't do anything wrong. I don't like the valley of flowers. I said, but all these years you've been talking about the valley of flowers. I kept reading about it in the books in the Himalayas. There's this valley of flowers. And I love flowers. And they say that this valley is so beautiful that even heaven would not be that beautiful. So I said, take me to this valley of flowers. He said first, no. I said, see, now I've got finally 3 days. I don't know when I'll ever get it. And truly enough, I never got those extra 3 days in my life afterwards. So I said, now you have to take me to this valley of flowers. So he said, I'll take you there, but I will not enter the valley of flowers. I said, why you will not enter the valley of flowers? He said, because the valley of flowers hates me. I said, how can a valley hate him? I didn't understand. Maybe some people are there who hate him. I didn't understand. I said, okay, but you take me. It was a long, long journey. We had to walk for a long time. And then finally, we came through a pass. And 1 kilometer was that pass to go on the other side of the hill. And he said, I'm not coming there. This valley hates me. You go there and see the valley and come back. I had come so far. He was not coming. I walked in. When I went to the other side, what did I see? The most spectacular sight anyone can see. Flowers of different color, different hues, different shapes, and almost miles and miles of flowers, and the very fragrance in the air. And when they were flowing in the wind, it was like waves and waves of colors. It was such a spectacular sight that I just wanted to run down and just embrace the flowers, just embrace the valley. But I was afraid if I go down alone and if I get lost, where am I going to get back? I don't know how to find my way back in the mountains. So I went running back to him. I told him, come with me, I want to go down to the valley of flowers. He said, no way, I'm not coming down to the valley of flowers. I pulled him, I said, see, at least come and stand here while I go down. Yeah, where I can see you, I can come back. I took him there and I told him, how can you hate this valley of flowers? I could imagine how someone can hate something like this. He said, because this valley hates me. I said, how can it hate you? He said, yes. And I hate this valley, He said like that, and the whole valley started resonating. I hate. He said, see, the whole valley is hating. I tried to be logical. I said, but you said I hate. This is just an echo. And he got angry and he screamed out, I hate you. He was of course saying in Hindi. And the whole valley went on saying, hate you, hate you, hate you, hate you, hate you, hate you, hate you. It was getting so depressing, so dejecting. And he got even angry and started screaming, I hate you. The valley goes on, hate you, hate you, hate you, hate you. I finally said, stop here right now. Stop here right now. See, this valley is inert. You are the crown of creation. You are man. Why don't you say, I love you? And he said, why should I say I love you when the valley hates me? I said, but you said I hate you first. No, before that the valley had said I hate you. I do not know. Maybe somebody was standing there screaming away, I hate you, and he heard it. Yeah? Because many people keep screaming, I hate you in this world anyway, you know. So I said, okay, but you say I love you. He said, why should I say I love you? Because if it hates me, why should I say I love you? Isn't all that what we do also in this world? This person hates me, why should I say I love you? This person didn't smile to me, why should I smile to that person? So that person is looking ugly, you also look ugly? Yeah? Finally I said, listen, you love me like your grandson, isn't it? He said, yes. I said, then look at me and say, I love you. He said, I'm telling you, I'm not telling the valley. I said, you don't tell the valley, you tell me. But the valley will think it, that you're telling to the valley. But I don't want to tell the valley. I said, okay, you just tell me. And very reluctantly he said, I love you. And suddenly he could hear the whisper from the valley, love you, love you, love you, love you. I said, see, the valley is saying love you. Let's stand together and scream out loudly, I love you. He shouted loudly, I love you. And the whole valley, love you, 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 love you. In the same way, this whole world that we see is just the echo of your mind. You give out hate, all you will hear is hate you, hate you, hate you. But you be active in your love. Let the world hate you, but you go out and give love. And say, I love you. And see, sooner or later the world has to respond. And if not, things and creatures in the universe will respond to your love. Thus, don't be passive in your love. Be active in your love. And we may be successful wealth-wise. But if there is no love in our life, if our very relationships for which we are living and earning and producing, if they are not happy, if the environment in which we are living is not peaceful and loving, and we can start first with the family, but let us not stop at the family. Yes, many people in this world do love their family. Even though in that family whom we love, we have the maximum fights, the maximum quarrels, the maximum hurt, the maximum grievances. This generally happens. Now, why does this happen? When the inside mind is constantly at unrest, then outside in the family cannot be any peace. And if the family is not at peace, how can the neighborhood be at peace? And if the neighborhood is not at peace, how can the society be in peace? How can the nation be at peace? And if the nation is not at peace, then how can you be at peace? See the cycle? Now we cannot change the world, but start from changing yourself. Gurudev once told one beautiful story. People used to come up and say, Swamiji, look at the world, how terrible is the world. And Swamiji, you know, you Mahatmas must get actively involved in the politics, and you must be in the politics, and you should become the Prime Minister. Of course, if one such Mahatma became the Prime Minister, the world would be blessed. But we are ready to change the world so that we will be happy. Gurudev gave a beautiful story. One day, a father was in his office and he always wonders, this wife of mine does nothing at home and keeps complaining. All she has to look is after my one son. And such an angel is he, because whenever he comes, that boy is so peacefully sleeping. And have to look after the angel. When I come back, she's tired, she's exhausted. What does this angel do to her? So one day, she left the angel with him because she had to go for some work. Yeah. Then he realized that boy, not even for a minute, would let him be at peace. That, what is this? That, touch that, this, that, I want that, I want this. Finally, he didn't know what to do. So at that time, he called his secretary. She, being a woman, knew exactly how to handle a child. He says, look after him. But he wouldn't leave daddy. He doesn't want to leave daddy's chair. So daddy had to go and sit on the side, and he was sitting on daddy's chair. But touching this, touching that, picking up the phone, working on the computer. Father got a little bit upset. She just told, give him something to do. He will be fine. Remember that genie? Yeah. Give him something to do. He will be fine. So he thought what to do. He saw the newspaper in front of him. On that there was this whole globe, the map of the world. So he decided, let me do something. He tore it into pieces, taught his son, this is a jigsaw puzzle. You like jigsaw puzzle? No? Now fix up the world. Thinking that he doesn't know geography, he's only 5-year-old. He doesn't know geography. Even his father doesn't know the new countries, Uruguay, Paraguay, Yeah. Where do they come from? So anyway, he'll take ages. Meanwhile, mother will come, I can finish some work. In 5 minutes, the child says, Daddy, 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 I fixed up the world. He looks at the secretary, did you help? She was far away, she didn't do anything. He comes, looks at the whole map is very nicely fixed. So he said, how did you fix? How did you fix the world? You tell me, how did you do it? He realized. So far he used to say that, he has my genes. Now he realized that even he was not that clever when he was 5. Yeah. So he was in doubt. How did you do it? And he says, Dad, that was very simple. So he said, what did you do? He said, look on the other side. On the other side was a picture of a man. He said, I fixed the man. The world got fixed. Yeah? Therefore, simple thing is, learn to manage your life. Fix your life, the world will get fixed. Yeah? But start with yourself. Know that in all your relationships, there are many relationships, but not everybody is married with children, of course. But to start with, love does not only mean a boy-girl relationship, man-woman relationship. Because whenever we speak about love, we generally understand that falling in love with a butterfly feeling and the dub in the heart. Yeah. And then afterwards the pain and the divorce. Yeah. Love should be there in every relationship with every being, including animals. And animals can love you also very dearly. Love should be between fellow beings. Love should be in the family. Love should be in the society. Plus, love can be there in every relationship. But two strangers coming together to live a life together in the form of a husband and wife, to start a loving family, it is a very important relationship which we have discussed yesterday. And the secret of that is what? Forgot already. Give the maximum, expect the least. Don't keep anything inside. Tell the other what you expect. And if you cannot give that, let them accept. Yeah. It's better you open up even in a quarrel so that at least you're not hiding it inside. But one secret elders point out, that even if you fight and two people living together will have some quarrel, it's okay as long as you're telling each other. Don't hurt each other. Even in quarreling, you can tell what you want, but don't hurt each other. But if you quarrel, then end that quarrel that day itself. Don't carry it to bed to the next day. That is the secret. Let it be done there and there. End it. That day you quarrel, but that day only end it. Forgive and forget. However, one husband and wife did follow this policy. They were fighting, but finally, of course, as usual, he is wrong. She can always convince him that. So he said, generally he is, so what? No. He said, okay, let's forgive and forget. She also said, forgive and forget. But remember, she has got a very good memory. Yeah. She told you once, go right, and you went left. For 20 years, every time you drive, you will be reminded. Yeah. So she did. Every day she reminded him, you remember you did that? Remember you did that? So one day he got frustrated and he said, I thought we said forgive and forget. She said, of course I have forgiven and forgotten. I just don't want you to forget that I have forgiven and forgotten. It's nice to have such humor in marriage. In relationships, have humor. But forgive and forget. Now, in two people who love each other dearly, it's not that difficult. With children, it is not difficult. But in marriage, it starts building up. Let each day be forgiven and forgotten, and each day make your love new. Yeah. Bring back that romance in your marriage. And when there is romance, when everything is new in marriage, yeah, that is called as beautiful, which each day becomes new. And only when there is a happy couple, they can bring forth happy children. Do you know most of the children who become notorious, who become distracted, who have major attitude problems, very often, you find, very often, that they are coming from families with parental problems. You find very often that they are coming from families with parental problems. Of course there would be problems, but see that your hatreds, your grievances do not reach out to the children. It is very important that children feel secured. They know that both my parents love me. But when parents have fighting, when parents, and you may even know now, you may be 40, 45, even 50, and any day your parents are fighting, you know, even at this age, you will quiver. To imagine what happens to children. Again, even if you have grievances for each other, do not give it to the children. Very often to take revenge, they give it to the children. Even revenge from in-laws, they tell the children, don't go to grandmother. The way our culture has survived is one secret because of which Indian culture, Hindu culture has survived, where Roman Greece, Egypt cultures, Chinese culture all perished. Is one thing is respect for elders and wise. Yeah. And that you cannot demand. You can only demonstrate. If you give respect to your elders and make your children respect your elders, they will also respect you. Otherwise we keep telling them, you must respect your mother and father. But they don't see it demonstrated. I remember one thing, in every family, somebody or the other will be troubling somebody or the other. It happens. But one thing our mother never allowed is, Whatever those people may behave with her, they are your elders. You have to behave well with them. The result is that we cannot behave badly with our own parents. If that we understand, then culture will survive, values will survive. And where there is values in the children, we have created a better future. The fulfillment of married life is that you bring forth children who will become good members of society. Not just post-dated checks. Yeah? That when you are old, they will look after you. If they don't become good members of society, they will never look after you. You can only dream. Even at 40, you will be looking after them. Means when they are 40. Yeah? Look at it in the world around you. Therefore, please don't invest on your children. Invest in your children. Yeah? What I mean to say is, we are giving children all the external things outside. Cars, luxuries. In fact, yesterday only I got an email which pointed out that many of our children have never known what you know. They've never walked to their school. Anyway, it was a very interesting email. And according to all the modern precautions that we think, then all of us would be dead by now. Because we played in the dust. We ate out of each other's packets of food. Today, shh, you can't do all that, you know. Yeah. We give all the external things to the children. But the most important riches that will be with them all their life. Wealth can come and go. But the inner riches of virtues, good character, good conduct, this will never leave them and will give them happiness, peace, wherever they are, in whichever situation possible. We spend millions on their education. But what type of education that those very youngsters, when they come back from UK, USA, etc., they look at dad and say, you don't know what you're doing, you know. Mom, you're uneducated. If that is education, in Ram Gita so beautifully pointed out the essence of education. That if we are giving children education, what type of education should we give the children? It is said, Vidya dadati vinayam. Knowledge or education should be that which gives you humility. If it gives us humility, then it is proper education. That education that makes us so proud and arrogant that we look down on others, including our own parents and teachers. And once ego comes in, learning stops. And such people with such attitude and arrogance, what happens to them eventually? Their life itself becomes a disaster because nobody loves such people. Nobody likes such people. Thus, these children then fall for peer. They will do anything to please others so that they can win their friendship. Is it not? Peer pressure is there only for those who are weak. But those who are strong, they will never fall for peer pressure because they are not followers, they are leaders. Yeah. Very often when youngsters come to me and tell me, Swamiji, everybody around us are drinking, they're into drugs, and everybody's having affairs. When they say something like this, I say, do you want to do it? They said, no, Swamiji. But what to do? If I don't do, I'll not have any friends. I said, no, there are many people like you. You stand up for that which is right, and you see you will get people who will come with you. At the same time, why should you follow them? Why don't you live your life in such a way that they follow you? Why should we always follow the bad? Why don't we follow the good? Is it not? Some of you were inspired, you made others follow you here, is it not? Yeah. If you stand up for that which is right, you can influence others. Rather than being a follower, be a leader. And leader does not mean one who is egoistic, but the leader is one who is humble. Thus, qualities of leadership is not one who bosses over others, but one who remains firm on truth, firm in his goodness, firm in his principle, firm in his love. Such people will be followed by others. That's the secret of leadership. Learn it from Ganesh ji. When I gave my talks on CEO, to all the managing directors and leaders of companies, I always point out, leadership is not about domination. Leadership is about humility. Then when people will follow you, you are the true leader. When you command people to follow you, yes, because of some interest they will, but one day they will overthrow you. This type of leadership, when we put in our children, by giving them the right values, the right pride in their goodness, dharma, their values, their nation, their culture, then you will find that such children grow up to be noble children. And mind you, when children are happy, no one is happier other than the parents. Our rishis were not interested in population growth, that the politicians are, for their votes. They were not interested in praja, they were interested in supraja. That the population must be good. Then only society is peaceful and happy. Thus, how do we manage this relationship with the children? Yeah. Just key factors. Our rishis have pointed out that a child's life is in these 3 stages. The first 5 years, the next 10 years, and after teenage. Yeah. They say Panchavarshani Lalayet. For the first 5 years, give all your affection to the child. Dashavarshani Tadayet. For the next 10 years, Tadayet. Now please do not misunderstand this word Tadana, to beat. This is how they have misinterpreted it. The very word Tadna in Sanskrit means educate, train, discipline. That's the meaning of Tadayet. That is the learning period of the child. That's the time you give the child culture. Therefore, just when the child is ready at the age of 5 or 6 to go now to the Gurukula, to go to the boarding school, he is given the Upanayana. In the Hindu culture, they are given the Upanayana, the sacred thread. If you see in all ancient cultures, African culture, Red Indian cultures, the child is initiated. Yeah. That now you are entering a new stage of your life. Live a life of discipline. Cultivate character. Learn all the sciences that be helpful in your life. But remember one thing, that you have a duty. You have gained so much, you have to pay back to your ancestors, to society, to God. You have to pay back. Then live your life with these values. You will be happy, society will be happy, you will love, you will be loved. This is how education was given to the children. Therefore, Dashavarshani Tadayet. And after that, Mitravad Acharet. After that, treat your children as friends. Once they enter teenage. This is so beautifully divided. The first 5 years is the mother period of the child. Therefore, it's very important that mothers give time to the children. Many of you do that. I don't have to say it. But especially nowadays when mothers also have to work, etc. Get your priorities right. You may work, but see that the child gets quality time with the mother. That's why what's happening today in the Western world is that children are left in daycare center. Why are they so insecure in love? Even though they're educated, they're quite successfully monetarily. But why are their relationships breaking? Why are they not ready to commit themselves? Because there's insecurity in love. That first 5 years of giving affection to the child is giving security to the child. That I am loved. Later on, the child does not want to need any proof. Others today, everybody needs to be told, I love you. If you don't say I love you, you don't love me. When did you ever think that your mothers came up and embraced you and said, I love you, darling? Nowadays, if you don't do that to your children, let that little child feel that affection of the mother. The next 10 years is the father period of the child. As much as you are busy making money, which you have to, it's a competitive world, to provide for your children and family. What's the use of earning the money if the children don't have the father? You will see also naturally children breaking off from the mother and going more towards daddy. Yeah, everything they admire about daddy, and daddy has to be an example to them. Yeah, that's the age. If daddy is smoking, they will turn, paper and go, "She, mama, I'm daddy." Yeah. That's the time. If daddy spends time with them, they look up to an ideal in their daddy. Both girls and boys. Daddy should get quality time. And when they become teenagers, and that's the time, through your example more than just lecturing them. But that's the period you teach them, educate them, give them good conduct, good character, teach them all the sciences. That's the period. Once they are 15, they become teenagers, they have a mind of their own, they become independent. But if you have given those 10 years of quality time to the children, educating them properly, giving them good character, you should never fear because they cannot go astray. Yes, according to their own innate tendencies, some may yet make mistakes. But the values that you have given them will never take them too far. That they cannot return back. Yeah. Again, understand very clearly when you're bringing up your children. This is not about equality. This is about differences. A boy and a girl are two different people. You will see that the girl matures very quickly, understands very quickly. Boys are slower, sluggish, and they don't listen. Yeah. Therefore, boys get the maximum beating. Yeah. Never beat your child. It's not necessary. But understand, boys and girls are different. It is not that anyone is more than the other. Or anyone is less than the other. Therefore, there's a slight difference in the upbringing of a boy and a girl. Yeah. Remember, the girls, their beauty is their gentleness, their sweetness. And that is their strength. It is not their weakness. I remember last year I was here, I had a seminar called Why Me? For the women. Yeah, some of you might have been there. Yeah. It's very important we train our girls today. Do not try to imitate men. You're degrading yourself. Yeah. The strength of a woman is far different from a strength of a man. Man needs that strength. But a woman's strength is her stamina. Remember, an oak tree can stand a storm, but a strong storm can break down even an oak tree. But the gentle grass can remain strong even in the strongest storms. Therefore it is seen. See the women of the past. When men meet crisis, they break down. It's at that time the women stand up. Yeah? And generally you will see, these are not those, modern educated, tramplers. Yeah. In fact, the most gentle housewives at that time shine out amazingly during those crises. Remember, that which is gentle will never break. That which is soft will never break. It has its own strength. Recognize that strength of femininity. Give that strength of femininity. Don't think that, being gentle means being a doormat. Neither was Mother Sita a doormat, even though she had the most amazing husband. Even now and then, when for some reason Ramchandraji say, no, you don't come to the forest, you stay here and stay in the palace. He said for her good only. At such moments, even she turned around and said, listen, my mother taught me my duties. Yeah. Draupadi was nobody's doormat. The women of our countries were nobody's doormats. And remember, if women were not to be ashamed of femininity and womanhood, and women would not create problems for women, no man in this world can ever harm a woman. Because remember, there's only one woman who can control her man, and that's the mother. Yeah? That's the time. If he misbehaves with a woman, she should give him. That's the time. She should show her Kali Roop. Mother, not wife. If every mother took care of her son, no wife in this world would ever suffer. But yet understand, man and woman are two different. That's why they say, one comes from Mars, other comes from Venus. Now whatever it may be, but you have to live down here, isn't it? So let's get down to earth. Yeah. So when you bring up your children, after 15, consider them as friends. And most important part of parenting is understand that children are your best teachers. Remember, the patient is your best. For a doctor, the patient is the one who tells exactly what his problem is. Therefore, in any relationship, if you want it to be successful, rather than talking and lecturing, listen. Do you know, when I go around the world, so many youngsters come up and tell me such things, and I can understand why they can't tell their parents. Yeah. Very often after I've given them a hearing, basically what they're telling is they've done something wrong, they've got carried away, or their friends are doing wrong. The fact they come to speak to me is that they're asking for help and strength. After I've guided them and saying, is that what you want to be? And they would say no. But everybody is doing. Do you want to be a copycat of everybody, or do you want to be a leader? Finally, after inspiring them, they tell Swamiji, please don't go away, please stay here only, don't go away, please, when we are in trouble, how do we live? I said, I'm available anytime. But your best well-wishers are your parents. Don't underestimate them. They've gone through everything that you've gone through, and they've done much more than you. Yeah. If you are the son, he's your father. Yeah. And they are your best well-wishers. Nobody can love you more than that. Why don't you go and open up and tell them? They say, no, please, Swamiji, you also don't tell. You know my parents, but you don't tell them. And I can understand why. No sooner a child comes up to the parents and says, Mummy, in the party there was drugs. Oh, you're not going there anymore. You're not going out with his friends. The child is trying to tell you because the child is trying to gain help. Otherwise you just imagine, he must be taking drugs. Yeah? Give them a hearing. Listen to them. Even if the girl comes and says, Mummy, I saw that handsome boy. And Mama, I'm feeling something. It's better she tells you. Don't panic. You're not going out. You're not looking at boys. Yeah? Rather than her learning from her friends who can misguide her sometimes, she learns from the mother what are these feelings that a woman has towards man. Listen to them. Most important. In any relationship, listen. Even the relationship of friendship. Do you know, slowly in life you recognize as you turn older, you have lesser and lesser friends. And particularly men, they become loners. Look in the forest also, the lion. Yeah. Every lion, roaring lion, finally is alone. Yeah. Reason for that is that we don't communicate. Open up, speak. Tulsidas ji has reported in the Ramayana when Ramchandra ji is telling what is friendship to Sugriv. First thing he says, Det let mana shank na karei. In friendship, giving and taking, there should be no hesitation. A friend is one, especially for youngsters. A friend is one who will never, and especially ladies also, friend is one who will always show the good of his friend and never expose the bad of his friends to others. At the same time, unlike what youngsters happen, a child is doing something, a friend is doing something wrong, they won't go and report it. Oh, but because he'll get a beating. See what is good for him. A friend is one who will take a friend away from the wrong path and lead him to a good path. Not say, hey, come on, let's go to the bar, yaar. Drink na. Arey, my wife will scold. Arey, who's the lion? That's not a friend. Friend is one who will not expose the bad of his friend to anybody else, but at the same time help the friend to improve. A friend is one you can tell your deepest secret and you know he will preserve it. Why friendships break up? Another thing, in every relationship, mind you, every relationship stays on trust. And it takes just one lie, one slip, one moment of unfaithfulness to break up a relationship. It's not worth it. Yeah? So there must be trust in the relationship. Now, when this is there, not only in the family, not only in the friendship, but very important in society. There are many of you who will not take up positions like become president of some organization. There are so many social organizations. If good people do not take up these positions because I don't want to get in the hassles, I don't want to get into the politics. Remember, if you don't play politics, nobody is going to play politics with you. Whenever you are doing some social work for the society, and you get some position, greater your position, greater your responsibility. Don't keep the chair just for a name. I'm the president of this council, I'm the president of that council, I'm the president of this organization, or I've become a minister, or I've become a governor. Remember, higher your position, higher you will go when you take responsibility rather than hold on to the ego of that position. Clear? Take responsibility, not positions. And then you see how we can change this world. And remember, if the society around you is happy, prosperous, you can enjoy your life. Today, many of you are terrified to go out at night because you do not know when you're going to get hijacked. We have a responsibility not only for ourselves, but for our society around us. Do your best to remove corruption. And first of all, don't be corrupt. Do your best to remove the poverty of others. And remember, if you take up that in your mind, God will give you even more. If you take up the responsibility of the family, you will get even more wealth. You take up the responsibility that around you, maximum you can remove the poverty and the suffering. Then see how much more you will get. Thus, if you want to live a balanced life, make a program for yourself. Note it down today. I know you've not bought your books and pencils. But how to have a balanced life? First of all, start your day early. Be sleeping till 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. See, the most glorious sun, like God is coming to bless you. The early morning rays of the sun are the most energizing, the most healthy. Decide to get up early in the morning. You will have a very productive day. I'm not saying get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. But at least get up just before sunrise. Now, what will happen as a result of that? Late at night, mostly we waste our time, isn't it? If you decide to get up early in the morning, then you will not have wasteful hours at night. Mind you, life is very short. Remember, just now you were celebrating your 5th birthday and now it is 50th. Yeah? Isn't it? When will life pass away? Nobody knows. When death is going to come? Nobody knows. Get up early in the morning. I'm not saying 4 o'clock, etc. Before sunrise. Get up in the morning. Then, after having a bath, etc., sit for at least 20 minutes in quiet worship or meditation. Just being with yourself. That time day's activities have not started. Yes, nowadays you will find that morning you are more sleepy and night you are more awake. Therefore most people ask, can we meditate at night? Can we meditate at night? Yes, you can meditate at night also. So, in the morning, spend some time in prayer. Spend some time in meditation.